Today, Great.com talks with Mark Ford of Partnerships with Native Americans. And if you haven't heard of them, they are an amazing organization who have been supporting and serving the Native American communities for over 30 years. If you are new here, please subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we learn why it is so important for us to support the Native American communities. Hello, Mark, and welcome to our podcast.
Dakota, Chi, Mark Ford Gonse. Hello, everyone. I'm welcoming you or greeting you in my Western Apache language, the language of my ancestors. I am Chiricahua Hickory Apache and also have some Pueblo Indian in me as well. And I'm just honored to be with you all. I am the Director of Community Relationships or Partnerships and Tribal Relations at Partnership with Native Americans. I've been with the organization 10 years and just happy to be with you all and share a little bit more about what we do.
Amazing. That is incredible, Mark. And I absolutely love that, speaking in your Native American language. And could you tell us a little bit more about that at all? Because for me, and maybe many of our listeners, have never heard this before in our lives.
Sure. There are about over 154 languages spoken among the Native American tribes here in the United States. We have what we call federally recognized tribes. These are tribes that have a relationship with the federal government. There's 574 of those. We have tribes that have a relationship with the state government. And then we have tribes that are non-recognized. And, you know, one of the things about Native American history in the United States is we had several colonizations that took place that, you know, really impacted the tribes and have created a lot of disparities that exist today in this nation. But, you know, there's a lot of us who are very proud to be Native Americans and to serve the people that we do serve and be able to help uplift those individuals, and those communities are doing some incredible things to help their own people in advancing, whether it's around food sovereignty, the ability to produce their own food, whether it's around leadership development, youth development, or creating programs that enrich the lives of Native Americans and preserve their culture and language. So I'm one of those Native peoples that never grew up on a reservation, or I never had the experience of knowing the language until recently, because my family was one of those, the Chiricahua Apaches were the ones Geronimo's tribe. You know, a lot of people have heard of Geronimo, the famous chief who was a great warrior and a great leader. And when he surrendered, they took all the Chiricahuas and put them in other reservations so they'd be assimilated by those tribes. So my family didn't feel like they fit in, so they left. They became what we call urban Indians. So they moved into urban areas and, you know, lived a Western American Western society. So that's my heritage, but we're very proud of being Native and being able to help those others who are in reservation communities doing some incredible work.
Mark, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing some of your history with us, because that is absolutely incredible. And it's just wonderful to hear about how it's passed down the generations and that you're still keeping it going. So just, again, thank you so much. So, Mark, for me and anybody that's new here, what is PWNA and what do you guys do?
Sure. PWNA is short for Partnership with Native Americans. We are a nonprofit organization, Native-led, meaning that our governing board are all pretty much Native Americans, you know, who grew up with their traditions and their culture, very professional board members who lead us and direct us as an organization. And we're Native serving, meaning that we serve Native American tribes, specifically those in rural reservations. We cover a 9-state region in the United States, which includes the northern plains of the states of South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Nebraska, and also the states of Arizona, New Mexico, Southern Colorado, Southern Utah, Southern California, and here in the Southwest region where I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona. We have 2 main offices that do our programmatic work, one in Rapid City, South Dakota, that serves the tribes in those Northern Plains, and here in Phoenix, Arizona, we have a 40,000 square foot warehouse that serves in both of those regions. We offer two types of programmatic services. One is called what we call serving immediate needs. That is bringing basic needs out to reservation communities, such as food and bottled water, school supplies, healthy living supplies, which may include anything from personal hygiene products and basic necessities for people to be able to have those basic needs to get by. And then we also do what we call long-term solutions. These are programs that are more sustainable and build capacity, such as leadership program that we identify emerging leaders in tribal communities, grassroots leaders who are getting things done, who want to build their own skills, whether maybe it's public speaking or networking or grant writing, and enhance their skills in leadership. We also have a disaster preparedness for tribes. You know, with the climate change in our world, disasters have increased, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a blizzard or fires or floods. Those events are happening more, and our tribal people we're developing programs for our tribal people to help them prepare for these disasters and learn how to respond to their own disasters. So we've been doing that for a number of years now. And then we also have a program called our Native American Food Sovereignty Initiative. And this is anything that trains people in learning how to cook healthy meals, maybe using ancestral foods and recipes, of foods that existed prior to colonization in this country. A lot of people don't know this, but there are 8 main crops that came from North America that are used worldwide. And they're crops that Native people grew before colonization, and includes tomatoes, beans, squash, corn, avocados, chocolate, and let's see, what else am I missing? Chili peppers. I think there's one more I left out. I don't have my list in front, but anyway, there's main crops that are used now around the world that, you know, maybe other countries like tomatoes have been, you know, maybe perfected a little bit by the Italians, potatoes by the Irish, but you know, they all came from this continent, and so we're using those kind of ingredients and recipes for people to relearn their indigenous diets prior to colonization. It's called re-indigenizing our communities with healthy food and ways to grow that food and to preserve that food. We even do sessions in food foraging, teaching people to go out in their yards or in their neighborhoods to identify either herbs or basic food systems that are there that they can use to incorporate in their meals. We also do a number of other things in partnership with Native Americans. We support education for Native American youth going off to college or higher education. So we have a scholarship program. And it's not just about writing a check to the university or college, but developing a relationship with those students and identifying other needs they may have, helping them access other resources. We send out care packages to when they get to school, they have a package of personal hygiene products and things like that that they can use. We send them a care package during midterm or final exams, birthday cards, you know, and just help them to succeed as a student. We also support animal welfare programs on reservation communities. These are programs that do adoption, spay, neuter, fostering programs, public health programs to teach people how to care for their own pets. There's so many things we do. It's amazing. You know, there's a lot of Native serving groups that are out there that have specialized maybe in 1 or 2 areas, but partnership with Native Americans supports our tribal communities in many areas. And so our hands are in a little bit of everything.
Thank you again for sharing that with us, Mark, because like you just said there, your hands are in everything. And it does sound that way, that you're helping in so many different ways. So a question for you now, Mark, would be, since starting in 1990, what have been some of your greatest obstacles and struggles along the way, and how did you overcome them?
Sure. You know, an ongoing need for us and for the tribal communities we serve is having the financial resources to be able to continue or to build upon the projects and the initiatives that are taking place in tribal communities. There's a lot of misperceptions about Native Americans, both in this country and worldwide. A lot of the history that we're taught in school is not accurate. It's, of course, history is always written by those who are the conquerors, or, the ones who have taken over. And so you don't get that perspective. And so there's a lot of misperceptions that we spend a lot of time working with our donors, with our partners, with our funders, about helping them know what life is really like in a reservation community, especially those that are more rural and geographically isolated, those that don't have the resources, and helping, clarify or dispel those misperceptions, giving them more accurate information. So that's been both a challenge and a struggle, but we also have a wonderful group of donors and funders and partners who contribute regularly to Partnership with Native Americans to help us bring those needed resources to our communities, whether it's training or supplies or supporting local initiatives. Those are all things that are ongoing. So yeah, the continuing need for funding is an ongoing need. Only less than 0.5% of all charitable donations go to Native American causes. And we would really like to see that. We've been educating some of the funders we work with to help them understand that, tribes don't have the resources, and we're not the same as rural communities. Tribal communities are totally different. So just helping to explain those differences and educate and inform our funders and the public is an important piece of what we do.
Yeah, of course, because like you say, not many people are aware of the needs of the tribal community. And I noticed you said earlier, Mark, about, say, that the community members may want to do something like, say, public speaking, etc. Why would something like that be important to the tribal community?
For sure. One of the things that's important to us is empowering the people we work with and the communities we work with to be more self-sufficient. That's part of our vision, is self-sufficient tribal communities. And that means giving them the tools and the resources they need to be able to do that. So public speaking, for example, having some of those who have gone through our leadership programs be able to go to their tribal leaders and say, listen, this program that I run is important. We need funding, we need resources. What can you do? Or to help them to learn how to write a grant. So they know the right words to use to understand how to receive those funds and to be able to market themselves. There's a lot of organizations who look at what's missing in the communities, what's lacking, the impoverishment and the needs that are always ongoing. In most tribal communities, every day is a disaster. Every day is an emergency because people are just trying to get those basic needs. So we focus on investing our money and our time and our staff on those who are making those differences, who are closing those gaps and building assets within the community. That's our basis of service is asset building in each community. So to identify the assets that are there, whether it's a person or an organization, and to build upon that. And so that's so important for us and for the people we serve.
Yeah, and I also believe that every human is entitled for the help and to learn something new and do what they want to do. Because if, for instance, they wanted to do something different, they need those resources there, and they need the help from outside sources like you guys. You can come in and implement the help that they need. So the next question to you, Mark, would be like, what is your vision for the future, and where do you see the organization, say, in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a good question. We're in the process of creating a new strategic plan to help us move forward. But our experience in the last few years has been that there's a great desire for tribes to take ownership of their own food system. So, the reservation system that was developed in this country and the tribal system was set up by our US government. It was used originally as a prisoner of war camp to keep Native people from fighting the US government. We took away their land, We took away a lot of their rights. And part of that was we took away their ability to grow their own food. I shared some of those crops that were grown in this continent prior to colonization. There was a great society of Native American peoples that existed here, self-sustaining, healthy, and thriving. And when colonization came in, and there were several colonizations that took place in this country, you know, first by the Spanish, then by the French, by the English, and others that came in, the Russians in Alaska area. And each of them brought an impact that still is still ongoing today. Those impacts include not being able to grow their own food. So the government said, we're going to provide you with food commodities. And a lot of these food items that were brought into reservations were not part of the original diet of Native Americans. So things like wheat, processed sugars, and dairy products they did not exist here in this continent. There were no cows. So those kind of things were brought in. And those new foods that were brought into Native Americans changed their metabolism and their health. So Native Americans have the highest rate of diabetes and heart disease, malnutrition in this country than any other ethnic group as a result of that. So there have been movements called the Native American Food Sovereignty Movement, which is empowering and re-indigenizing Native communities to take ownership of the food systems by growing their own food, incorporating foods from their ancestral diets that were used, and taking ownership of their health. So that is one area that we have been investing more of as an organization. As I mentioned, the disaster preparedness programs as well. It's another area where Native people are, you know, a lot of times they wait for outside help from the American Red Cross or other organizations who do wonderful work of helping, but it's time to empower our Native people to be able to serve their own community when a disaster strikes, rather than waiting for outside help to come in and outside resources. I mean, definitely those outside resources do help, but if they can start being able to prepare and serve their own people when a disaster strikes, that's the first way we want to go. And so we were doing that. And again, the leadership development, promoting not only those grassroots leaders, but also youth leaders, identifying those youth who want to serve their communities and promoting opportunities for them to do that, investing in our youth and future generations. So that's a lot of what we see our present and our future work going towards.
So exciting times, not only for you guys, but for the Native communities as well. So really, really incredible what you're doing there for all these people that do deserve just to live their lives the way that they've been brought up to live, like you say, because outside sources could come in and change their diet, etc., which will have effects on them personally. So Mark, just to finish off now today, what can somebody do to help, and what action steps can they take to be a part of the solution to this?
That would be, yeah, that's a great question. And we welcome anyone who wants to learn more about us to go to our website at nativepartnership.org. They can Google us, Partnership with Native Americans, get on our website. They can donate on our website. They can also learn more about the programs, and they're welcome also to contact me if, my job is mainly to work with foundations or corporations or businesses who would like to invest on a larger level. And I'm happy to give out my email address, which is M as in Mark, Ford, F-O-R-D, at nativepartnership.org. mford@nativepartnership.org. So I welcome any businesses or foundations, but individuals, like I said, could go on our website. There's a place to donate or learn more or request more information to put on our mailing list or newsletter list, and learn all the different programs and activities that are going on. But yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to continue to receive support. Like I said, there's such a small portion of contributions that are given to Native causes, and we just believe that Native Americans have the solutions to the issues that exist on reservations, they need to have access to those resources to solve those problems and to resolve anything from the past so they can move forward and have strong, healthy, vibrant communities.
That is absolutely incredible. And I just want to say thank you, Mark, for this today, because I've really enjoyed it. And for you that's listening today, if you've enjoyed this episode, please press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that will show the algorithms that this is an important conversation, so more people can learn about the importance of supporting our Native communities.